Hello, EduMagicians. Welcome to the EduMagic podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of EduMagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
I'm Jake Miller from the Educational Duct Tape Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect those of others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey EduMagicians, it's Sam, and before we start into this episode, I want to share with you about an amazing resource. It's called the Educator Candidate Member Portal. AAEE provides you with resources such as virtual job fairs, a job board, interview tips and prep, resume building, webinars. You can even get a copy of the Job Search Handbook digitally. So head on over to aaee.org and create your free Educator Candidate Member account today. Hey everyone, welcome back to another EduMagic Monday. My name is Dr. Sam Fessich, and today I have an amazing guest joining us for our Student Teaching During COVID series. Her name is Kiana Cole, and she's an elementary educator, mindfulness educator for teachers and students, self-care and community care enthusiasts. And I have to say, on her Instagram, she has self-care enthusiast, and I was like, yes, Kiana, we need you on here, because self-care is truly a skill that I wish that I had as a future teacher. It's still something I'm working through, several years into the profession. So I'm so glad she's here with us today. Kiana is from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where she learned her love for educating and mentoring children. She's a graduate of Howard University, where she received her Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education. And this really started to contribute to her hunger for facilitating change and promoting joy in every space that she enters. And she truly does. And I think you guys are going to start feeling all the feels as soon as she shares with us today. She has spent 3 years in the District of Columbia Public Schools, teaching third grade before transitioning into being a mindfulness and dance educator. Love that combination. And she currently teaches dance to elementary age students and leads a brand called Kicking It with Key, where she created Cut the Noise Mindfulness, which she uses to help teachers and students cut the noise out of their lives and live their best, most purposeful lives through mindfulness, self-care, and community care support. Kiana believes in sharing her journey to light the pathway of others. And friends, I can't wait for her to light our pathway this afternoon. Kiana, welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I cannot even contain my excitement. You can probably feel it through the computer screen. Yes, this is a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. And I was a student teacher, so I already know how it can be. And I'm just happy to share what I know.
It's great to have you here. And before you came on, weren't you also a KDP member back in college?
Yes, at Howard University, I was actually a member of the Theta Alpha chapter of Kappa Delta Pi. Listen, they told us to say the whole thing, International Honor Society in Education. So I'm that was my pride and joy in school. We did a lot of work around community service and spending time with kids at different schools. So it was such a pleasant part of my time at Howard. So I'm proud to be here today.
Wonderful. Well, let's hear what you have to say. I'm excited to listen in on this conversation today.
Yes, of course. I really wish I could see you, but I put it on full screen, so y'all won't be able to see you guys, but that's okay. So we're gonna jump right on in. So today, of course, like I said, we're gonna be talking about self-care for student teachers during COVID, and it is a very challenging time for the average person, but then add in the fact that you're trying to learn to be a wonderful educator, and that makes it even more challenging. But today I'm going to offer you some things to make it a little bit easier and to kind of readjust how we think about self-care. And so I hope that you can take something from this today and really take better care of yourselves, because you deserve to do that, not only for yourself, but also for the families and communities that you serve. Like Dr. Sam said, I am Kiana Cole. We won't go through all of this, but I'm just happy to be here to share all the things that I know about being a teacher, but also being someone who realized very early on how important self-care was in this line of work. And we're going to talk a little bit about community care as well today as well. So let's talk about it. Self-care as community care. So a lot of people, when I talk about self-care, they oftentimes only think about you centralizing themselves in this work. But self-care as community care takes a different approach to self-care because your work inside and what you do for yourself actually affects everybody that you come in contact with. And I'm going to explain how that is today. So this is a really amazing quote by Dr. Maya Angelou. May she rest in peace. But nothing will work unless you do. And I thought this was so cool because I was on Twitter, and there was a young lady. She put this quote up, and then she took a different approach to looking at it, because initially when you think of nothing will work unless you do, probably means like, oh, I need to do self work. Like I need to be working on myself or doing the work within myself. But it's not just about that. She started to look at it as from a holistic standpoint. I'm not good within myself, then nothing will work. And so if you're not taking care of yourself, the work that you're doing in the classroom, the work that you're doing in your classes as you prepare to be phenomenal educators, you won't be able to do that if you're not taking care of yourself. And so I hope that that perspective shift will also save your life as well in regards to your longevity in the education system. And so I want you to keep this quote at the center of what you do. Nothing will work unless you do. All right, so let's break down what self-care is from my perspective. And of course, there are many different definitions that you can think of when you think about self-care. So let's start with what I have. Self-care is self-love in practice. It's an expression of the love you have for yourself. If you think about it that way, it becomes so very powerful. It is also individual wellness. So it is how you are, how well you are within your own body. And then it is an act of preservation. And this is like my favorite point, because when you think of preserving something, is making sure it has longevity. How many times have you heard of someone saying or talking about how teachers don't last in the profession past a few years? There's a reason for that kind of verbiage that people use. It's because we don't preserve ourselves. And so self-care is an act of preservation for you, but also for what you're doing in our line of work. Self-care can and will look differently for everyone. What you'll probably often see is people maybe doing face masks, or they may be doing yoga, or they might meditate. There are so many different ways to view self-care and to go about self-care. And you have to think about what form of self-care truly will work for you. And some days you might need to change it up, and that is okay too. And of course, on the side, you'll see the different types of self-care, because there are a lot of different forms that it takes: the physical, the emotional, and all of these things, social, spiritual, all of these play a role in the type of self-care that you offer for yourself. And I think people often leave out the social. The social, oh my goodness, the social is so important, which is a part of that community work that we do. So let's talk about what community care is, because I feel like with community care, we don't talk about it very often, but it is such an integral part of self-care. Because when you're practicing true self-care, it we'll talk about what that exactly looks like, because I'm going to give you a whole story about how self-care contributes to community care. That community care is that act of collective caring for two or more people. It is the collective wellness. Are we well as a society? Are we well as a community? Are we well within our own cultures and our families? Are we well within our races? Are we well within our different gender groups? These all these things play a role when we think about our collective wellness. And that matters. That matters because our collective wellness and our self-care can sometimes be very interconnected in regards to how they affect each other. So let's talk about self-care versus community care. And I love to tell this story. So there's the story of the cup and the saucer. So I know oftentimes you hear people say, fill your own cup up before you go and pour out to others. They talk about filling your cup up, right? Or you're in many times you might hear people that are in the church community say that their cup runneth over. Today we're going to talk about why that is so important. So self-care is represented as the cup. The cup needs to be filled up with love and compassion and self-care, just pouring into this cup. And this is you pouring into yourself, right? So much love. And then that outpouring would go into the saucer. And what I want you to make your goal is to give people saucer love. The love that comes from you taking care of yourself so well that you're full to the brim and it just starts to overflow into everything you do, every person you come in contact with. So, as a teacher, excuse me, you want to think about how can I fill my own self up so that I'm just loving on the students that I come in contact with, loving on the communities that I meet. And when you are getting ready to meet families, that's something to think about as well. And then specifically in COVID times where we are encountering so much grief and different things that are happening and so many groups of people are losing folks. It is so important that you consider what you need in this process in order to be well for yourself first and then be well for your community. So I hope you will give some people some saucer love because you've been taking such great care of yourself. Let's keep it moving. All right, so the first self-care tip I'm going to offer you guys is setting boundaries. And I know you've probably heard this before, but setting boundaries is such a critical part of your self-care routine. So let's talk a little bit about what boundaries are. Boundaries are a way to be compassionate to yourself. How many times are we more compassionate to others than we are to ourselves? More compassionate to our families than we have been to ourselves. You can only love people to the extent that you've loved your own self. That's where that sauce of love comes in. You have filled up that cup and it just pours over. So be honest about your limitations. You are human. Limitations are normal, especially in this line of work. It is normal. There's only so much you can do, only so many books you can read. You have limitations. Don't see that as a negative thing. See it as a positive. Set designated times and spaces for work and rest. It is so important to train your mind to know what areas of the home are for work and what areas of your home are for rest. Because until you are physically back in classrooms or physically back in all the spaces that you were in before, you have to consider what those spaces will look like for you. So designate those spaces for yourself so that you can train your mind to go into work mode and then to come out of it because you shouldn't be in work mode all day. For example, I'm at a desk. I am at a computer. It is a completely separate part of this common space where our couch is and all of that. So that's something to consider. And then follow through on the boundaries you set. Oh, my. Let me tell you, as an educator, it is so hard to follow through on the boundaries that I set with my families that I was working with because I cared so much about giving them as much as I could give them. But then I would start to infringe upon my ability to take care of myself. And that is never okay. So set those boundaries. Oh, and this tip is one that I love so very much, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. I offer a lot of this information on my Instagram and on my YouTube channel because I just think it's so important. A self care tip that is going to save you so many days is journaling. You need to be able to see your journey, specifically in this line of work and during these times of a very unique time that we're in with COVID. Mindful writing uses mindfulness to access the inner voice that we all have, because we all have an inner voice that tells us things, that talks to us, and it leads to your authentic self, right? And you can only teach kids and families how to be in line with their authentic selves if you are in line with yours. A place to spend time in touch with our experiences without judgment. How often do we speak negatively to ourselves, about ourselves, and to ourselves? It's so important that we do the work of journaling, and I always keep mine very close by. And I truly love it because I get to speak to myself in a kind voice. I get to write down things that I want to happen in my life, and it's just a great planning tool for yourself. And I know how being wanting to be an educator and being an educator is oftentimes about planning, and journaling is such a great aid in that process. All right, more self-care tips. Self-care tip is morning and night routine. It is so important to think about how you start and end your day, because the way you start and end your day will heavily impact the way the day will actually take place, like how it will flow. So, how you start and end has a great impact on the quality of your day. Consider starting your day with 5 quiet minutes. And when I put in like, quotes, quiet, because quiet to you may be a little differently. It may look a little differently than quiet to me. Quiet to me is complete silence. And at different points in my life, it might have been meditation music, but it just depends. So whatever quiet is to you, whether it be just a lowered sound in the house, you need those quiet minutes in the morning to really think about how you want your day to flow, to set intentions for your day, and to get ready to move through your day with purpose. How many times have you gotten up and gotten directly on your phone and you were just like, oh, social media within the first minute of you waking up? Or you go straight to your emails and you're now looking through your emails trying to see what's going to be going on today. I know that that doesn't put your spirit and your mind in a calm space. It makes you frantic. So keep in mind how important it is for you to have thoughts, your own thoughts in the morning that are not impacted by others. 1 minute of deep breathing to start and end your day, okay? Because if you don't, your body sometimes can get really tense. I know I carry tension in my shoulders, and I always have. And it's something about just so much that you have to do, and it's on your mind, and you just move through your day too quickly. So 1 minute of deep breathing to start and end your day. Create an affirmation for the day. You know, I have everything I need in order to be successful today. I am accepting and loving of all my flaws. My best is always enough. Those kinds of things create proclamations over the day so that when you encounter moments where you're feeling less than your best self, then you can be reminded that the affirmation that I set for today was this. And you can create them as much as you want. I keep a list in my phone. Avoid using your phone 1 hour before bed. It's something about the lights on this phone and just the way that it lights up that doesn't yield itself to a really good night of sleep. So continue to think about how you can set that space. Write in a gratitude journal. Oh my, I love this one because being grateful is a great way to continue to push yourself to be in a space of joy, which has a lot to do with another tip I'm going to offer you. Self care tip: find joy in each day. And I'm going to caution you, this is not an easy space all the time. but you deserve joy each day. And if anybody's telling you otherwise, they are absolutely wrong. You deserve to have joy each day, even if it's something small. But I have to be honest with you. You have to create space for it. Because if you don't, it won't just appear, right? And gratitude journal is a great way to create that space, but you might have to alter your current schedule to fit more joy in. And the question is, how do you do that? What are the things that truly bring you joy or peace? Consider that and choose to do one thing each day that brings you true joy. Set a reminder and make space in your day for joy. And my favorite kind of intention setting sentence for joy is I can create space for joy to flourish. And I might even add daily. So consider that. Joy is important in this kind of work. Joy is important even when COVID is happening. Joy is important for you as a person, and you deserve some joy. So, all in all, you really need to practice both self care and community care because it's powerful work. And when you are well, your community can be well. So, community care tip, ask what's needed. What do the people in your community need? And in that question, you will push them to practice more self care. Because I'll never forget, I asked a friend, I said, what do you need to feel supported this week? And if you see the little picture on the screen that you see is actually from my text alerts that I send out to my friends daily. And not just my friends, but anybody in my what I call my loving community. So if you sign up for text alerts, these are the type of messages that you'll get. But I asked them, how can I support you? And my friend literally said, my goodness, I don't even know. Let me think about that. And I helped her consider what ways she can be supported. Number two, be honest about what you also need. So don't just let your friend tell you what they need. They're going to probably ask you the same thing back. What do you need? And now both of you are practicing both self care and community care. All right. Community care tip, intentional community building. Intentional community building puts us in better position to support the communities we are a part of. You want to be able to support, you have to be intentional. Who are you currently building community with? Who are the people in your life that you're already in community with or you're already building community with? Think about what you can do with and for them. How do you decide who you like to be in close community with or close relationship with? You need to be handpicking your people, your friends, the people that you spend quality time with. Handpick them. It's okay for some people to pick you or for you to let circumstances or environments choose some of your people, but you really should be intentional about who you decide to bring into your space and into your life. And then how can you support the people in your current community? Whether it be in your racial community, your cultural group, whether it be in your gender group, there are different people that you can support and be just an aid and a help to. And I don't know about you, but when I am serving and when I am loving out loud, that gives me the burst of energy and hope and love that I need to keep going every day. You cannot properly care for others when you have not been cared for properly. So care for yourself properly and let that bleed over into what you do for others. So just a quick review, as teachers, we have to review self-care. So then you have community care. Remember to set those boundaries, practice some journaling, ask for what you need, and ask the other people what they need. And then a morning and night routine. And all of these things will just be an aid in the process of you creating your own routine. I'm not telling you that if you start doing all these things tomorrow, your whole life will change. What I will say is you will start the journey of taking better care of yourself. And over the years, it will start to transform the way you think, the way you live, the way you move, the way you teach, the way you are. So I want to help you in this process. I have a text alert system that I mentioned earlier. You can text 202-918-3255, and you can sign up for text alerts where I give you daily inspirational texts and self-care and mindfulness resources for your everyday life. And because I am still an educator at heart and still in this work, I understand so closely what you need and what it means to practice real self-care. It takes time, but it's so worth it. How can you implement today's topic? Think about it. But you can definitely start with one step. Connect with me. You can find me on Instagram at kicking it with key underscore. You can find me on Twitter at key kicking. You can find me on YouTube where I offer full videos on this kind of work. Specifically, I gave self-care tips for both teachers and students during a pandemic. That was a few episodes ago, so check that out. And you can also email me at colekiana94@gmail.com, and I would be happy to provide support and assist you in any way that I can. I have workshops coming up, and if you sign up for text alerts, you will immediately be notified before everyone else. So make sure you hit me up and let me know what you need because I want to be a support to you because you deserve self care and that just turns into community care. So remember to give people your saucer love. Thank you guys.
Key, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I have never heard that phrase saucer love, but I'm gonna tweet it out. I took some pictures from today, so I'm excited to share those out. I did have a few questions though come in. One was from a student teacher. How do you separate your learning or your workspace from your everyday space, like if you're in a dorm room or if you share a room with somebody? Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked that because I actually share a currently because I decided because of the pandemic that I wanted to be close to my sister, and it was best for our mental health for us to be closer together because we were both living alone pretty much. And I actually have an autoimmune disease, so it was perfect to come and spend space with her. But in this space, we actually have to, it's a one bedroom, so we really have to be intentional about how we divide the space. The tip that I would give in regards to that is to think about first, you might need to have a conversation with the person that you're living with. And I know that is not the easiest thing because I remember I lived in the dorms on campus for all 4 years of college, so I get it. Think about how you all can divide the space and decide kind of like you might need to create a schedule for you all to decide when are you working versus when I'm working. Also thinking about leaving the actual room to go do work. So coffee shops, the park, things like that. Of course, social distance, of course. Please take care of yourselves, but that is a great way to think about like actually leaving, like creating a morning commute. Literally, because before we would, when you're going to class, you would be walking and going to your next thing, but creating a morning commute. Like I always leave in the morning and go take a walk. And then when I come back, that's when I start my day. And I sit at a table. I make sure do not go to your bed to do work because your bed is a place of rest. Try not to do work on, try not to do work on any type of like, really like, I forgot what they're called because it's not a futon that I'm saying. It's like those little beanie babies or beanie bags. Try not to do work on those kinds of things because that should be a place of like rest and leisure. So consider those things. And if I think of any others, I'll definitely share with Dr. Sam because I know that that's a particularly hard situation. But I think with a little community conversation, it can be done.
And we have one more question. How do you keep doing self-care when it feels like nothing is working? I know you mentioned there's lots of self-care looks different for everybody. Try different things. But what do we do if we're doing self-care and it just feels like it's not working?
um, you're not going to want to hear this, but keep going, keep trying, and do your best not to compare. I used to really struggle with this, and I still do at some points. try not to compare yourself to other people, because it looks like they're just practicing such better self-care than you are. They're just really doing great, and you're trying to figure out why none of your self-care tactics are working. But please understand, school can be stressful. COVID is definitely stressful. So keep trying different things to see what works, but also get some consistency. Because if you're trying, let's say if you're trying journaling, you did it one day, you didn't like it, or you tried a couple of days and you're like, it's still not doing anything. My journaling practice took me about 6 or 7 months to really just show me how I was growing. Because I looked back at some things that I wrote 5 months ago, and I was like, wow, I was in such a different place, such a different mindset. And I noticed my small victories. So make sure that you're really considering the things that have helped you grow, and those small victories that you actually have had. And just explore, because there are so many different ways to practice self-care. Like, it's whatever works for you, as long as it's not a detriment to your community. And so if there are some things that work for you that are unconventional, take part, try them out. There's so many resources on YouTube, including my channel, but so many other channels that provide support around yoga, meditation. And also, don't feel like you have to do one type of meditation, one type of yoga. There is so many, so many. So keep trying. And when you get discouraged, get you an accountability partner. Get somebody else that's really on this journey to be better and to treat themselves better, because they will remind you and check in with you and say, hey, you really didn't take care of yourself today. So consider that. I know it can be hard, especially right now. I've had a lot going on, so I understand. And I'm sending love to you, and I hope that helps.
I love that. Kiana, this was phenomenal. I'm just, yes, this is great. I love all of this. And if anyone needs an accountability partner, dude, totally hit me up. I need some help with some self-care. And I love those daily affirmations. The ones that you just shared quickly with us were fantastic. And I know the student teachers, the field students in this group, we even had some higher ed folks join us too. So hopefully they'll share this message out with their student teachers. This is a message that everyone needs to hear, future teachers, practicing educators, even us higher ed folks. So thank you so much for your time today. This was amazing.
I had a great time, and you all, contact me. I'm an open book, and I will help in any way that I can. And I am, looking to continue to do this work in schools. So when you start becoming, when you're actually in the classroom doing the work, I'm hoping that you'll see me one day, and I'll be able to help you, help the staff and help the students push to be better in this way.
Thank you. All right, friends, we'll see you next week, 2 to 2:30 for another Edgy Magic Monday. We have Deborah Ashamo joining us, and she's going to be sharing about first-year teacher point of view. So I'm really excited for that one. See you guys next week. Bye for now.
And there you have it, EduMagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more EduMagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram @sfessage. Until next time, you have the EduMagic within you.